It's the second episode of Survivor Thailand, and last time, 20 players entered the game, split into 2 tribes of 10. With both tribes needing to face the tribal council vote, Wilbert and Liesl quickly became the target of their respective tribes. However, the first 2 tribal votes resulted in the first 2 blindsides of the season, with Angela going home from Koh Tao and Kim Lee going home from Koh Poda. Who will be the next person voted out? We'll find out soon enough. It's currently night 2, and at Koh Poda, EK publicly announces how great of a blindside that was. He applauds them all for their tribal council performance. In confessional, EK says he was fully expecting Liesl to go home, but she's somehow still here. 5 other people voted with her to take out Kim Lee, which still baffles him at this moment. He needs to regroup with the people he wanted to work with if he plans on staying in this game. Back at camp, EK pulls aside Trance, asking him what happened at the vote, and Trance tells him he's sorry. He had to vote Kim Lee because she started making way too many connections in the game. She practically started working with everyone. EK then says he thought everyone was working together to take out Liesl, but Trance tells him that wasn't the case. Not everyone wanted Liesl out, him included. In confessional, Trance says that EK is obviously upset over this blindside, so he's in damage control mode now. He needs to ensure EK doesn't scramble for numbers and feels as secure as possible on this tribe. In reality, he could very well be the next one booted. The sun has now risen, and it's day 3 in the game. On Koh Tao, Joe and Morgan stand by a tree, and Joe asks Morgan about the flip yesterday night. Morgan sighs and tells Joe she had a rough time deciding between Wilbert and Angela. She spills that Jordan has been trying to get Angela out, and a lot of people were already on board with it. Only him, Wilbert, Sabrina, Chloe, and Angela were left out. Wilbert ended up voting Angela, probably because he didn't like her. Joe sighs and tells Morgan he wishes he was told since he voted Chloe for no reason now. In confessional, Joe says he's absolutely on the bottom now. He just lost a close ally in Angela, and now his own head is on the chopping block. He didn't think he'd be in such a pickle this soon, but he can't just sit here and complain. He has to play how this game was designed to be played. He needs to fight for his survival. Later on, Chloe talks with Kaylee and Peter, asking them about last night's vote. Kaylee admits that Angela was just a strong player who had to be taken out. Wilbert was simply less of a threat in some people's eyes. In confessional, Chloe says she has to get to work ASAP. Calm Chloe has left the island. Chaos Chloe is on the island. She can't allow herself to remain on the bottom, so she needs to turn up her social skills and get herself in a majority. Chloe then tells Kaylee and Peter that she doesn't mind Angela going home because they didn't have much of a connection. Kaylee says she figured most people left out of the vote wouldn't mind it too much. Chloe then asks if Wilbert is still the next target, and Kaylee says she isn't sure, but it's likely. In confessional, Kaylee says that she actually likes Chloe. She was just a victim of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, going forward, she'd love to align herself with Chloe. Jordan likes her too, so that's a number they can add to their alliance. Meanwhile, Sabrina and Joe sit at camp, talking about last night's tribal council. Joe lets Sabrina know he chatted with Morgan, and she admitted that her, Jordan, Kaylee, Peter, and Wesley came together to vote out Angela. Sabrina nods and says this worries her. She doesn't like the look of that. Those 5 could very well be an alliance because it makes no sense why Morgan flipped on Angela the way she did. In fact, she was the one who suggested Chloe as plan B yesterday. In confessional, Sabrina says she should never be blindsided in this game. When you blindside Sabrina Yale, you have another thing coming. Morgan will need to watch her back because she just betrayed a potential alliance of 4. She will not allow her to lay low. Sabrina then tells Joe that they'll need to find an inroad with Kaylee, Wesley, or Jordan. If they can convince them to vote Morgan out next, that's a new life for their games. Joe says he likes this and tells Sabrina they can work on it today. At the water well, Wilbert chats with Jordan, thanking him for rallying the votes to keep him. In confessional, Wilbert says that Jordan came up to him last minute before tribal council to vote for Angela. He feels like Jordan rallied the votes to keep him around, giving him a second shot at the game. He's very thankful and wants Jordan to know that from the bottom of his heart. Jordan then tells Wilbert he's glad he stayed another day. He truly wants them to work together. Wilbert tells him if he ever needs his vote, he'll always be available to help out. Jordan smiles and says they'll make a great team together. In confessional, Jordan says he feels really good about his connections on the tribe right now. He's good with Kaylee, Peter, Wesley, and Morgan, and now he's good with Wilbert. Not to mention, Chloe seems like a really good person to have around. That just leaves Joe and Sabrina, who are likely bitter by the previous blindside of Angela. Especially Joe. He'll need to watch out for those two because they might gun after him going forward. Later on, Sabrina has a chat with Kaylee, letting her know how blindsided she was last night, but she especially felt blindsided by Morgan. She fills Kaylee in that Morgan pushed for a split vote plan between Wilbert and Chloe, hence why Joe voted for Chloe. Morgan was also supposed to vote her, but clearly she lied to them and voted Angela instead. To her, that's sneaky behavior and someone people shouldn't underestimate. Kaylee thanks Sabrina for filling her in on that and lets her know she personally doesn't have any true ties with Morgan. In confessional, Kaylee admits that she'd much rather work with Morgan than Sabrina at this moment, but Sabrina brought up a really good pitch against Morgan. Morgan could be that one player who takes her out down the road because of how sneaky she is. It's hard to read Morgan through that giant smile on her face each and every day. Sabrina then tells Kaylee that she's open to take out Morgan if they go to another tribal council, but if they want Wilbert gone instead, she's cool with that as well. Kaylee tells her she'll be filled in, so they split off to end their conversation. On Kopoda, EK talks with Nora alone, telling her they are clearly on the outs now. Nora agrees and thinks Trance and Ella ran that last vote. Especially Ella. EK says they'll need to figure out a new plan. Clearly, trying to work with everyone on the tribe hasn't worked for them. In confessional, Nora says she's pretty bummed to see Kim Lee go. That was a possible ally for her going forward, but that's stripped away from her now. She only has EK left, and truthfully, she doesn't feel like he's a reliable ally whatsoever. She'd much rather work with other people on this tribe. However, for now, he's relying on her as the only person who seems to trust him, so she'll just play along and then flip on him later when she has to. EK then tells Nora that they'll need to try getting back in with Trance and Zaylin, or at the very least, Zaylin. Nora continuously nods as EK explains his game plan for them moving forward. Meanwhile, Lizel, Willow, Ella, and Zaylin chat together, and Lizel says that this 4 is her new 4 going forward. Zaylin says she loves this group of 4, and Ella says she'd be glad to work together as a group. In confessional, Willow says that they ended up voting Kim Lee last night because Lizel told them to do that last minute at Tribal Council. Thankfully they did because they inserted themselves in a new alliance with Lizel, Ella, and Zaylin. Back with the group, Ella also ropes in Trance as a possible number for them since he voted with them. Zaylin agrees with that, and Lizel says she's excited for this game to go on. She's so glad to have stayed, and she begins crying. Ella then hugs her, telling her she deserved to stay. In confessional, Ella drops a few tears from her eyes, saying how she feels really good about herself. She just gave Lizel hope in this game after single-handedly saving her from going home. She'd love to go all the way with her and Zaylin. The 3 of them would make a really good team. In another chat, Trance talks with Corey, thanking him for trusting him at the last vote. Corey says no problem and lets Trance know that they are going to continue working together as a duo. In confessional, Corey says he feels good about Trance at the moment. The two of them can work as a really solid duo. However, when it comes to their current interests in the game, Trance is leaning towards taking out EK. That doesn't really work for him, though. He actually likes EK and would much rather keep him around as a loyal soldier. If he can keep EK under his arm, he can maybe convince Trance and the rest of his allies that it's better to keep EK and take out either Luciano or Nora. Corey then tells Trance that if he had to pick the next boot, it would be Nora. She'd especially be his target if she does poorly in another immunity challenge. Trance understands but warns Corey that some of the women want to vote EK next, so it'll be tough to change their minds. Corey says that to him, it makes more sense to bring EK closer to them so he's used as a number. They need to think about their own game and not the women's games. It's better for them two to keep EK around a bit longer. At camp, Luciano sits with Willow and Liesl, apologizing to Liesl for voting her last night. Liesl accepts the apology and tells Luciano she's not going to hold a grudge against him for doing that. She understands he had a close bond with Kim Lee. Luciano admits that Kim Lee and EK were the main two who told him Liesl has to go, so he thought the majority were voting for her. That's why he didn't vote Nora like they said they would. In confessional, Luciano says he screwed up voting for Liesl, and now he might be in dangerous waters if Liesl doesn't trust him anymore. He could have been a partial hero to her, but he looked the other way last night and she's still in the game. In another confessional, Liesl admits that she doesn't fully trust Luciano anymore. She expected him to vote for Nora, but he flipped on her without much warning. To her, that's a wild card, and she can't work with wild cards. She'd much rather continue working with Ella, Zaylin, and Willow. In the forest, EK and Nora look around for a hidden immunity idol, knowing they could be in trouble. They continuously look around trees and bushes, and at one point, Nora checks behind the tents at camp. In confessional, EK says it's vital for him or Nora to find this hidden immunity idol, assuming nobody has found it yet. If they can find it, maybe they can leverage some new allies. It's just really difficult to find the idol in the first place since it likely blends in really well with nature. With the hunt continuing, some more people begin looking around, and in confessional, Zaylin says people started noticing EK and Nora disappearing from camp more often, so they all decided to look for the hidden immunity idol before those two find it. As more time goes by, Trance ends up finding the Ko-Poda hidden immunity idol, and he quickly picks it up and stuffs it in his pants. He secretly celebrates to himself, and in confessional, Trance says he's amazed he found the idol all by himself. It's like he found a needle in a haystack. He never felt more joyful than right now, especially knowing he's the only person who has an idol on this tribe, assuming there's only one that was hidden. He'll need to use this if he ever senses danger. He doesn't want to go home with it in his pocket. It happens way too often on Survivor. It's day 4, and it's time for the next immunity challenge. Everyone stands on their respective mats, finding out that Angela and Kim Lee were the first 2 players voted out. Justin then takes back the immunity necklaces from Corey and Jordan, and then he sets them aside. He claims that from now on, they are playing for tribal immunity. The tribe that wins immunity will win this beauty of a statue. This keeps a tribe safe, forcing the losing tribe to go to tribal council to vote someone out. Justin then gets into the immunity challenge rules. In this challenge, 5 members will need to push a giant boulder so it enters the end zone. Once the boulder gets there, 2 members will try knocking down pins using a horseshoe. Once all pins are down, the last 2 members will need to complete a short sliding puzzle which requires them to get a target piece to a target square. The first tribe to finish will win immunity, safe from the vote. In addition, the winning tribe will win reward, which is a flint and some cookware to help cook their food. With that, everyone starts strategizing for the challenge, and Justin asks everyone to split up onto their respective starting positions. The boulder pushers for Koh Tao are Jordan, Morgan, Wilbert, Peter, and Chloe, while on Koh Poda, it's Willow, Corey, EK, Trance, and Ella. The throwers on Koh Tao are Joe and Wesley, while on Koh Poda, it's Nora and Zaylin. The puzzle people on Koh Tao are Kaylee and Sabrina, while on Koh Poda, it's Luciano and Lizel. With that, the challenge begins, and the boulder pushers begin pushing the boulders. They immediately feel the weight of this boulder, finding it really difficult to push it. Koh Tao have a slight lead, and after some time, they extend their lead by quite a bit. Koh Poda meanwhile struggles to push their boulder. Suddenly, Willow falls onto the ground, screaming in pain, so Justin stops the challenge. Everyone asks Willow if they are okay, and Willow claims the boulder rocked backwards and ran over their left foot. Justin then tells Willow they'll be evaluated by the medical team, so Willow is now pulled from the challenge. Chloe then sits out for Koh Tao to even things up, and the challenge continues. This time, it's much harder for the tribes to push their boulders. After 10 minutes of pushing, Koh Tao gets their boulder into the end zone, and Joe and Wesley begin throwing horseshoes at the targets. Meanwhile, Koh Poda continues struggling with their boulder. Joe and Wesley knock down a few targets, one after the other, and pretty quickly, they knock down all required pins. Kaylee and Sabrina begin working on the puzzle, sliding pieces around their board. Koh Poda inches closer to the finish line, but Kaylee and Sabrina make quick work of their puzzle. In under 1 minute, they get their target piece to the end, meaning Koh Tao has won immunity and reward. They will get their flint and cookware when they reach their camp. Everyone stands on their mats, and Justin places the immunity statue next to Koh Tao. He confirms that someone from Koh Poda will be the third person voted out of Survivor Thailand. Willow will join them back at camp after their medical evaluation is complete. With that, both tribes make their way back to camp, and in confessional, Lizel grunts because her tribe has to go back to tribal council, which she considers to be hell. Not only that, but Willow injured themselves at the challenge today, which really concerns her. The last thing she wants is for Willow to be pulled out of this game. At Koh Poda's camp, everyone gathers around, and Ella wishes Willow all the best in their recovery from the injury they received. Nora asks what specifically happened to Willow, and EK confirms they got their foot run over by the boulder. Nora cringes and says she feels really bad for them. Then, Willow joins the tribe after receiving medical attention, and everyone is glad to see them back. Lizel then asks Willow for an update, and Willow says they didn't break any bones, thankfully. However, they need to keep pressure off of the injured foot until it heals. That means they can't compete in any challenges that require running or anything that requires both feet. Lizel hugs Willow, telling them she's glad they'll recover from this. In confessional, Willow starts crying, knowing very well that their game could be at risk tonight. People might consider voting them out for having an injury this early in the game. Their best chance is to continue working with the girls, that being Zaylin, Ella, and Lizel. The vote is supposedly between EK and Nora tonight, so hopefully it stays being one of them. Later on, people split up to hold game chats, and EK pulls aside Trance and Zaylin, asking them if they considered anyone for the upcoming vote yet. Trance breathes out and claims it's going to be between him and Nora tonight. Nobody is swaying from that, even with Willow's injury now. Zaylin backs that up and apologizes to EK. It's just how the ball is rolling now. EK sighs, and in confessional, EK claims that he'll have to look elsewhere if Trance and Zaylin aren't budging. He might have to try voting out Luciano, since that's another person on the outs who isn't necessarily working with him. EK then tells Trance and Zaylin that if they ever have second thoughts, they could perhaps switch to voting out Luciano. Trance says they'll let him know, but they aren't promising anything. Meanwhile, Nora, Willow, Liesl, and Ella remain at camp, and Nora asks the three if they are voting EK tonight. Ella confirms that EK is the vote, so if she wants, she can consider putting her vote onto him as well. Nora nods and says she will since she doesn't have any true allegiance with him. In confessional, Nora says that she's hoping flipping on EK will save her from future tribal council. She doesn't want to associate herself with a sinking ship. She needs to leap off of it before it's fully submerged. In another confessional, Ella admits she doesn't trust Nora whatsoever. If Nora is willing to flip on EK, she could flip on any person in the future. In a way, she almost feels like Nora is a better pick to go home tonight since EK provides more strength in challenges. If her alliance considers voting out Nora, she'll gladly flip to that and keep EK around. In another chat, Corey and Trance look around the forest for idols, even though Trance has possession of it already. Corey then stops Trance and asks him about his thoughts on tonight's vote. Trance says that everyone is looking at EK or Nora for this vote, while EK and Nora are probably voting Luciano. Corey sighs and says he had a different idea in mind. He's mainly worried about this tribe's strength in challenges. He'd much rather vote out Willow because they'll still have the numbers without them. In confessional, Corey admits that Willow isn't really in his game plan moving forward. He has a much better relationship with EK, so it'll be ideal for him if EK stays and Willow goes. Plus, Willow has a busted foot, so keeping them around will hinder Co-Pota's challenge performances. Trance then tells Corey he doesn't feel like it's a good idea to vote out their own number. Plus, Willow claimed their foot would recover eventually. Corey isn't sure though, telling Trance that Willow's foot could remain injured the whole month they are out here. What matters most to him is challenge strength, and Willow isn't strong in their challenges anymore. In confessional, Trance feels like Corey is power hungry. He's trying to control the votes and get them onto Willow, and for his own game, that's a horrible plan. He's working with Ella, Zaylin, and Liesl in a main alliance, and Willow is comfortably placed in it as a fifth number. If Corey gets into people's heads that Willow has to go, that would be worst case scenario. He needs to take out EK or Nora tonight. No questions. Soon after, Trance meets up with Ella, asking her how Willow is doing. Ella claims Willow is doing fine. In fact, Nora came up to her, Willow, and Liesl just now to tell them she's voting for EK. Trance breathes out and tells Ella he's worried about Corey. Ella asks why, and Trance fills her in that Corey is trying to gather the votes against Willow. He's all about tribe strength, and Willow's foot is a liability in his eyes. Ella squints and finds this dumb from Corey. She tells Trance that she'd much rather send home Nora if they want to keep this tribe strong. Otherwise, EK is going home. Not Willow. Trance says he still feels worried because Zaylin is personally close to Corey. If Corey gets her, Luciano, Nora, and EK, that's 5 votes on Willow, and they go home. In confessional, Trance admits he's either really paranoid or he's correct about Corey's game plan. He might try getting 5 votes onto Willow tonight, and he can get the 3 people on the bottom of the tribe, and then get Zaylin as a 5th number. If Zaylin decides to flip with Corey, that's really bad for himself, Ella, and Liesl moving forward. Ella then tells Trance that she'll make sure Zaylin doesn't flip, and Trance thanks her. Throughout the evening, EK tries having chats with different people in the majority alliance, claiming that Luciano should be voted out tonight. In confessional, EK says that if he goes home tonight, he's at least going out swinging. Voting out Luciano is his only escape right now. If it works, that's great. If not, at least he can say he tried. Before tribal council, Ella and Zaylin meet up, and Ella asks Zaylin if Corey ever approached her with a plan to vote out Willow. Zaylin shakes her head, and then asks what's going on. Ella fills in Zaylin on Trance's paranoia. He feels like Corey is trying to get her to flip on Willow. Zaylin says she never got approached by Corey and would never vote Willow anyway. In confessional, Zaylin feels very weirded out by what she just heard from Ella. If Trance is questioning her loyalty, she can't continue working with him. Why does Trance think she's voting out Willow? Nora and EK are literally the top targets for their alliance. Ella then tells Zaylin they should ignore Trance's paranoia, but Zaylin admits she doesn't like what she's hearing about him. There shouldn't be a reason Trance is questioning her loyalty. Ella sighs and tells Zaylin they'll talk with him tonight if she'd like. Zaylin says they'll talk with him afterwards. For now, she's still focused on getting out Nora or EK tonight. It's night 4, meaning it's time for Kopota's second tribal council of the season. They all sit down, and Justin welcomes them back. Ella blurts out that they don't want to see him, and Justin laughs in response. He then tells Kopota that he wants to talk about the elephant in the room first, and that's Willow's foot. He asks Willow for an update, and Willow says their foot will eventually heal on its own. It may take a week or 2 to fully heal, so for now, they'll have to take it easy during running or physical challenges. Justin says they'll always consider their physical health before the game, so if needed, they'll have them sit out of challenges that can further injure their foot. Willow nods, so Justin then asks Liesl if she thinks Willow's injury could put a target on their back for this vote. Liesl shakes her head though, claiming that there's no reason for people to vote Willow tonight. Willow still has a lot to offer in this game for them. Justin then asks EK if he agrees, and EK exhales, unsure how to answer this. He admits he isn't working with Willow, so it's hard to tell if they truly benefit his game or not. Corey then chimes in, claiming that it's definitely a concern to see someone in physical pain every day. It's not only because of tribe strength, but also for Willow's sake. He doesn't want them to accidentally injure it any further. Liesl then tells Corey that it's Willow's body, so they will make the decision to leave the game if they want. Corey affirms he's not suggesting advice. He's just saying what's on his mind regarding the whole situation. Justin then asks Willow if they feel worried about their own safety because of their foot, and Willow says of course. People can use any reason to vote someone out, and that especially includes injuries. Trance then cuts in, claiming that this game is more than just about challenges. He'll straight up say that he sees Willow as a great friend on this tribe. They bring nothing but great energy, so for someone like himself, he'd never be able to vote Willow out. Willow smiles and thanks Trance, so Justin then asks Zaylin where she lands in all of this. Zaylin says she loves Willow to pieces, so they have nothing to worry about tonight. Justin then turns to Nora, asking her if she knows where this vote could end up going tonight. Nora thinks for a moment and says she has a fair idea. She's thinking many rounds ahead, while also thinking about her current position in the game and how to survive Tribal Council. EK says the same and admits that him and Nora are probably in the most danger tonight. They were left on the outs last Tribal, so the tribe can easily pick them off now. Luciano also claims he feels nervous tonight as someone else who was on the outs of the Kimlee vote. However, he had his chats with people. Hopefully, people are being truthful towards him and he's not the true target for tonight. Justin then wraps up the discussion and says it's time to vote, so everyone gets ready.
I'll tally the votes. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and they want to play it, now would be the time to do so. Trance is using his hidden immunity tonight. He is using it on Willow. Any votes for Willow will not count tonight. I'll read the votes. First vote, Luciano. EK. That's 1 vote Luciano, 1 vote EK. Nora. That's 1 vote Nora. Nora. 2 votes Nora. EK. 2 votes EK, 2 votes Nora, 1 vote Luciano. Nora. That's 3 votes Nora. EK. We're tied, 3 votes Nora, 3 votes EK, 1 vote Luciano. EK. That's 4 votes EK, 3 votes Nora, 1 vote Luciano, 1 vote left. Third person voted out of Survivor Thailand. EK.
EK gets up with a smile, saying he did not go out without a fight. Trance breathes out as his alliance looks over at him, thinking about his sudden idol play. EK then sets his torch down next to Justin and thanks him for this opportunity. Justin nods and snuffs his torch. EK then waves goodbye to everyone and they all say goodbye back, watching him leave the tribal council area. Justin then turns to the surviving 8 and tells them to head back to camp, so they all make their way back. Next time on Survivor Thailand, after losing EK, Nora finds herself isolated from the tribe, knowing she could be next. However, with Trance shocking the tribe with his idol play, will his current alliance question him? Plus, a mini-swap forces 3 members from both tribes to swap over to the other tribe. Will anyone be screwed over by it? Find all of this out in the next episode. EK's final thoughts. EK claims he had a good time on Survivor, despite being on the outs all game. He's actually glad he was part of a blindside, though of course, on the receiving end of one. He never expected people to come together to vote out Kim Lee. He knew his time was coming up, so his vote off isn't a shock to him. Things seem to be spicing up on Koh Poda because of Trance's sudden idol play, so hopefully it'll buy Nora a few more days in the game.